Welcome into the Atlanta Falcons Dynasty review, looking at what has changed with the Falcons since the 2023 season is over. It's January 25th. So, championship round of the playoffs happening. Obviously not for the Falcons, but still early. It's not quite the offseason yet, but we did get some news. They did hire a head coach today, Raheem Morris. A good timing for us. The defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. He was also the head coach of the Bucs back in 2009 to 2011. I think he also was the interim head coach for the Falcons, so he's familiar with the Falcons. But yeah, I think this is an easy team, Ryan, despite the disappointment. But yeah, what do you think of when you think of the Atlanta Falcons 2023 and beyond?
Just frustrating. I mean, that's just totally just sums it all up. It's like, stop drafting like these guys so high in the actual NFL draft and then not using them. But I don't think that's exactly true either about not using them. They've obviously had quarterback issues, and hopefully they can address that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That's the big thing. It's the quarterback. Like, if they don't get a quarterback in there, like, none of this is really going to matter, honestly, who they hire. I mean, in terms for fantasy, I guess. Raheem Morris had an interesting. He's basically a defensive guy. That's kind of how he's, made his name. But he also was like a wide receivers coach there for a second, a passing game coordinator. I don't know. Like, it's always weird when they switch back and forth. But with the Raheem Morris thing, he comes from the Rams system. It sounds like the Rams' current passing games coordinator / quarterbacks coach, Zach Robinson, he's kind of a hot name for an offensive coordinator position. So it sounds like they're potentially he's probably the favorite to come in to work with Raheem Morris. So, you're getting someone from the Rams tree potentially in Atlanta. We know what that they did, right? Look at what Puka did. Look at what Kyron Williams did, what Cooper Kupp has done. So, maybe some optimism there. In terms of cap space, they're right in the middle. They got $37.5 million, which is the 16th most. They are drafting 8th overall, so they're in that spot. They're in that range to take a quarterback if they feel like after the first 3 that go, which assuming is Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. If they like a JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix or maybe someone else, they're in that range. There's not a couple teams ahead of them that could take one, but they can always jump up. Free agents, not a whole lot really in terms of fantasy relevant guys. A couple quarterbacks they're losing, but it's Logan Woodside and Felipe Franks, who's kind of a project Taysom Hill guy. Cordell Patterson, who's 32 at least, 33. Mac Hollins, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson.
He's a young 32.
A young 32, okay. But yeah, it hasn't been too relevant the last couple years. They're losing a lot of receivers, but again, Mac Hollins, Scotty Miller, Van Jefferson, these aren't important guys. So, it really just comes down to the quarterback position with this team. Heineke's still there. Ritter's still there. And that's all they really have. I mean, that is all they have right now. So, are those guys are obviously just holds for now, right? Just in case they're the 1 or 2 heading into the 2024 season, right?
Yeah. I mean, Ritter's obviously still young. He didn't show us any kind of promise necessarily, but the guy's only started 19 games, so I don't think you're getting anything for him in a trade. So yeah, you're holding him. Then Heineke is just that he could be the backup anywhere. He could be the backup here or somewhere else. So yeah, I don't mind holding. Or you said so he's not a free agent. Okay, so what kind of contract did they actually sign him to?
Heineke? It was decent amount of money. I'll see if they can get out of it. But I know it was they're paying him a decent amount, which is why I was you should hold Heineke. Okay, so they do have an out. They would save $5 million or something, or $7 million if they cut him. So yeah, they could definitely cut him now they got a new coaching staff coming in. Yeah, they need a quarterback. Does that mean they bring in Fields, which is rumored to potentially go to Atlanta because he's from the Atlanta area? Kirk Cousins is maybe an option. Kirk Cousins has been under Kevin O'Connell, which is under, he's from the McVay tree. So maybe there's some connection there with like Zach Robinson, and if they hire Zach Robinson. So, but they definitely need a quarterback. Although I think Ritter had 26 or more points than Mahomes did this year. It's not that that means anything, but Mahomes had one game over 26 points and Ritter had 2. So Ritter is better than Mahomes.
Yeah, trade Ritter for Mahomes straight up if he can make it happen.
Yeah, add a second to Mahomes to get Ritter. Yeah, so it's just so hard to talk about them right now in terms of like the quarterback because we just don't know. But they're definitely in the range to get someone. But yeah, I mean, they're an easy team. Bijan Robinson, I don't really think there's much to talk about. To me, I personally would still have him as RB1. Keep Trade Cut still has him as RB1. If you want to put Jahmyr Gibbs above him, Breece Hall above him, even McCaffrey, for if you think he's going to go for another 2 years, he's definitely going to go for another year. So I don't think there's much to talk about. But any worries about Bijan, or are you optimistic that maybe you can? For redraft, I think you can maybe get him at a little bit of a bargain. Can you do that in Dynasty potentially? I don't know.
I don't know. That would be a good question. There was a guy in one of my leagues. Like I never actually approached him because I figured it was a joke. But like midway through the season, he's like, "Oh, I hate Bijan. Someone take him off of my team or something." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Should I send this guy a trade offer?"
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, Bijan was not as bad as everyone kind of remembers. He definitely had some issues with some super low scoring games, kind of like what we talked about with Derrick Henry yesterday, right? Like, I see 3 games with 6 or less, or we'll go 4 games with 9 or less. How about that? But I mean, I don't know. The guy still finished RB9, so and we felt like the Falcons were a broken system. So I think that's pretty good, and he can only do better.
Yeah, one of those was, I don't know if it was the point, if you're looking at half PPR, I don't know if it was the 0.3 or the minus 0.1. It might have been the minus 0.1, where like he had like migraines and they just didn't say anything. And he played like 1 snap at the end or something stupid. So
yeah.
There was that game, which you can kind of throw out. But yeah, there's not much to talk about. I mean, I'd still take him RB1, but again, like, I'm not going to make an argument if Breece Hall is there, Jahmyr Gibbs is there. So, I think he only had like 5 carries within the 5-yard line or less, 5 yards or less to the end zone. Like, what the hell? Like, he should be getting all those,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, he still had almost 1,500 total yards. Like, that's really good, So, yeah, he's going to be good. He could be potentially. I don't think in Dynasty he can be a value, but things like redraft, like he could finish RB1, but people are going to take Breece over him potentially, or Jahmyr Gibbs or whoever. So maybe it's just because of the bad taste. Tyler Algier. Oh, sorry, you're going to say something else?
No, I was going to say even Jonathan Taylor might even get drafted in front of him. It wouldn't exactly surprise me, which I think it's totally wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Algier, obviously, he's a high-end handcuff, so I don't think unless Bijan gets hurt, he's going to be viable. But he's RB2. Like, you hold on to those guys because more than likely he's going to at least get a couple games where he's going to be the guy. That's just kind of how it happens.
And we've seen production from him on this team. So obviously, like you were talking about, new coaching staff and everything. So we'll have to see if that continues to hold true, but they've definitely trusted him as like the guy in games, even this past year in 23. So yeah, definitely keep him.
Yeah. And again, just going back to Bijan, we talked about potentially Zach Robinson from the Rams coming over, being their offensive coordinator. and just look at how good Rams running backs have been under McVay, like Todd Gurley, his stud years, Cam Akers for 2022 to end the year, and then obviously Kyra in this last year. But again, you need a quarterback. So receivers, I mean, it's Drake London, and that's really it. I still like Drake London. I don't know if he's ever going to be, and I kind of felt this when he was coming out of college, if he's ever going to be a top 12 guy, like consistently. He can get into the top 12, but like be like a top 5, 6 receiver. Don't really see it. I see him more as like a top 15-ish guy. But I still like him, and we've seen his potential. And again, they just need a quarterback. So if you like London a lot, this is probably your time to buy low. If you can, because I think as it progresses the offseason, he's going to be harder to get. Maybe he doesn't rise in the rankings because rookies come in, but I think the manager of them is probably going to feel optimistic about, oh, they got this quarterback, or oh, they got a new whole system in there. So, any thoughts on London?
Yeah, no, I agree. Do you think you could trade, or how about would you do this? Would you trade Tank Dell for London if you could get like a second on top of it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that could actually happen though? I guess that was what I was more curious about.
Like trading Dell for London in a second? I don't think so. I don't think you could.
I'm gonna try. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely do that. I mean, Rashee Rice is another one. Like, I don't like if you look at the tier, it's a big tier. What is it? Tier? I don't know what number it is, but tier 4 or something like that. It's a big tier of like from wide receiver 10 to 20. So I like Drake London more than Rashee Rice straight up. Rashee Rice is 4 receiver spots higher than him. The hype of Rice, and he's on the Chiefs. But Chiefs are going to bring in weapons this year. I don't really think the Falcons are. Yeah, I still like him more than like Jordan Addison, straight up, Drake London. So, yeah, try that for sure. Basically make a lateral move in your mind and pick up a pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, still a lot of value there with London. So, no one else to talk about as a receiver. Van Jefferson, free agent. No one cares about any of their other receivers, really. They're just kind of those roster clogger guys. Kyle Pitts at tight end is someone to talk about. I still think he can be a monster, I would still potentially try and buy low for him. I'd still throw a mid to early second, to be honest. I would throw like the 204, 205 and try to get Kyle Pitts. I don't know if that's possible, but I would try it. Yeah,
definitely. I think now's the perfect time to try and buy him. See if that person wants to bail out, And if you do have an early second and no tight end, I don't see why you wouldn't go after him.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, people just are not going to like these players just because they've disappointed. They've disappointed you. But again, we always forget Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards his rookie year. As a receiver, that's amazing. As a tight end, that's ridiculous. There's only been 2 guys to do that in the history of the NFL. So he still has that capability, and I just think they need to stop using him as they're essentially using him as a deep threat. Use him as a tight end, and he would dominate, in my opinion. So you get a better offensive mind in there.
Yeah, stop with the Jonnu Smith nonsense.
Yeah, who's still there, by the way, but I don't know what his contract situation is, but he's not a free agent. Damn, he got 4 years. Oh no, that's with the Patriots. I was he got 4 years, $50 million, but they have a potential out on him. He got 3 for 30. Oh, he was traded. Okay. So yeah, the potential out for him, I think they would probably get out from his contract if they could. So yeah, I still like Kyle Pitts, would still potentially buy low on him, would still, add a pick to anyone in like the tight end 9 to 18 range, 20 range, whatever. Add a pick to them and the tight end and get Kyle Pitts. If, I still think he could be. He's only 23 years old. He's younger than. He's like 3 months older than Sam Laporta. He's younger than Trey McBride. He's younger than Dalton Kincaid. He's still only 23 years old, which is crazy. Heading into his 4th year. So, and then there's the plus. Like, if it doesn't work out in Atlanta, well, he's gonna go somewhere else. So, yeah, I don't know. Anything on the Kyle Pitts or the Falcons in general?
No, not really. I know we said going into this should be easy. So I think we kind of knocked it out. But yeah, kind of similar to what we said about the Titans to like wrap it up. I think that's good buy low opportunity for London and Pitts for sure. Bijan, I don't think you're getting the discount on. So yeah, I mean that pretty much wraps it up.
Yes, they will bring a quarterback. They're not rolling into this year with Ritter and Heineke. They're gonna bring someone. So again, whether it's they draft someone or trade for someone or sign someone, they're gonna do it. So that should boost these guys.
So what's your opinion on Ritter in general? Since we finished so quick, I'm just kind of curious. Like, do you think he's never gonna pan out to anything?
I don't think so. I didn't really like him too much coming out of college in terms of like a NFL prospect. Like, he just kind of melts under pressure, like any type of pressure, and he just folds, and it happens a lot for young guys. And yeah, he's young, but I just think he's a career backup, Yeah. So like if you're losing your job to Taylor Heineke, like he's not that good either. Like, so that kind of says a lot, in my opinion. So yeah, just not. He's a backup. Again, I'll hold him for now, but I'm fine with like potentially even dropping him if they do bring in like a Justin Fields or Cousins or something. Like, I don't even think he's one of those backup quarterbacks necessarily that you want to hold. So
yeah,
I don't know. What do you think about him?
I'm kind of curious, just to see. Well, like you said, it's like, yeah, they're probably going to get a quarterback, so we probably won't see too much of him, if at all, this year. But I don't know. I mean, he definitely had a lot of like stinkers, but he showed some decent flashes. Like, but if you look at the teams, it's maybe not overly impressive. Like Green Bay early on, Houston early on when their defense was still holding up, in Washington. It's kind of like, yeah, everyone scores against Washington this past year. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, like you said, solid hold, but I don't know. I was just kind of curious from you because I know you probably watched him more than I have.
Yeah, and again, like if we love Bijan and we love Pitts and we love London, it's like, why didn't the quarterback there do anything with those guys? Like, it's not from the lack of weapons, So, and I think, a lot of people are like, F you, Arthur Smith, all season. But I think it had more to do with there's just no quarterback, like, so not that Arthur Smith is necessarily like the greatest head coach, but you can't do anything with those two guys as your quarterbacks, So as backups, they're fine. If they have to play a few games, fine, like as a whole season, it just doesn't work. So
yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll finish up there, and we will get into the Vikings next, who had a disappointing season themselves. But yeah, as always, like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys